Women want to be fucked by a man. We are not delicate little creatures that you can't be rough with. We want to be dominated and shown who's boss. Women actually want to surrender all control to you. So don't be afraid to take that control and completely ravish her. She wants it and she thinks it's hot. She doesn't just want to feel loved. She wants to feel like you own her ass. And if you don't own her ass, another man will.
Did you know that in the last decade, the amount of involuntarily celibate and single men has increased by 253%? There are many reasons for this trend. Lower testosterone levels, easier access to porn, and of course, OnlyFans models. But that's not the full story. The ugly truth is that the modern woman is making more money now and she's no longer interested in the average man. I know I'll get flack for saying this, and it's not good for women either, but it's the world that we live in. Women are out-learning and out-earning men at historically high levels, and it's created what some statisticians refer to as the death of the average male. As a man, knowing this, you can either settle for where you are if you're content, or raise what I call your mating value score if you're not. This is what I help my clients do, and it's how they go from 5s to 9s and increase the quality and quantity of women they date. If you're curious about your mating value score and how to raise it, read the caption.
I'm a 40-year-old woman that's never been physically intimate with anyone, and I want to know, do you think it's weird that I mourn the fact that I never got to have that experimental, exploratory, promiscuous phase when I was younger? I never went through that. And it's not that I couldn't have, I could have, but the guys I was talking to, I knew that they didn't care about me, or respect me, or really want me. They just saw me as an opportunity to do some things. And that's why I never did it, because I didn't want to get used. But I do often worry that I missed out on a lot of data collection and learning about myself, because you learn what you like and what you don't like, what you're compatible with and what you're not compatible with, what you're willing to put up with and what you're not willing to put up with. You learn a lot about yourself during that time. Even if the relationships or experiences end badly, it's still a lesson. And all of those lessons were missed. And even if I was to try and go out and do those things at this big age, it's not going to be the same, because even if I explain to someone that I don't have experience in that area, they're still going to expect me to have a certain level of experience because of my age. And when you're in your 20s, people don't have those same expectations that I'm never going to be able to meet.
I might ruffle some feathers with this one, but I think that it's completely okay and natural to want male attention. And before you start calling me a pick-me, just hear me out. I think it's okay to want to be acknowledged and appreciated by the opposite sex, if you're a woman, for your beauty or whatever you bring to the table. That doesn't mean you're a pick-me or you're living off of the validation of men. I think the issue lies is when women feel like they need male attention versus wanting it. Wanting to feel appreciated or acknowledged isn't the same as feeling the need. And like, if you don't have it, you don't know what to do. I think the difference also lies in the type of attention. For instance, if it's just a man giving you a nice, respectful compliment versus if it's a man who's coming from a place that's disrespectful, it's very lustful, such as catcalling. And those are two completely different things and different types of attention. I think it's completely fine to want respectful, healthy male attention. And just like we feel the need to feel acknowledged and appreciated in other aspects of our lives, such as work, friendships, family, I don't think dating should be any different.
Nearly half of married couples now go a full year or more without touching each other, and the wife is usually the one who pulled away first. That's not a rumor. That's roughly 70% of documented cases. Funny how the same women who spent a decade calling men irrelevant are now the ones initiating the withdrawal and wondering why the room got cold.
A topic that comes up in every couple therapy is intimacy. So let's talk a little bit about intimacy, because there's this like kind of concept that women have less libido, which can be the case. But listen, intimacy is not going to be experienced the same for women and men. Let's just be, women need a lot more to be able to be intimate and connected. They just need emotional safety. You know, I think men can absolutely overcome that and feel connected in different ways. Women do need safety. Let's just remember this for a lot of women who are also moms, right? Again, I'm not generalizing. Every household looks different, but I see in my practice a lot of women being exhausted. One, they are overstimulated. A lot of them carry a lot of the mental load, organizing, planning, thinking ahead of time. All of this plus their work, plus being a mom, plus so exhausting. They sometimes feel unseen in the relationship, especially if they are responsible for more things in their household on a daily basis. They feel like resentful and sometimes emotionally alone. chronically touched out, when the kids are touching them all the time. They need space. Intimacy for women is contextual. It's not just physical, it's relational. So what does she need? She needs emotional attunement, shared responsibility. She needs to feel chosen, not just needed. Consistent emotional presence. Initiative without being asked what to do. Just act like a partner, not a helper. I would advise educating yourself about your partner's love language. Maybe it is like words of affirmation. Maybe it is about affection, but affection without pressure.
Do you ever wonder why women stop being intimate with their partner? It's not what you think. It's not because she doesn't care or doesn't want to. It's because when a woman feels no emotional safety, her body literally shuts down. For women, intimacy is all about emotional connection. Without it, no matter how hard she tries, she will not be able to fully receive pleasure. Over time, she starts to become cold and rigid. Then she starts living in wounded masculine energy just to protect herself. Our very own anatomy shows us the truth. Men are supposed to be the givers and women are supposed to be the receivers. But for her to truly receive, she has to feel safe enough for her to fully surrender into her feminine energy. So if you never want to lose intimacy in your relationships, then men, you need to start providing emotional safety to your partner. And women, you need to start embodying your feminine energy, which feminine energy is a feeling, because intimacy should always be pleasurable for both partners. And if it's not, you know something's wrong.
If your girl says she has no intimate drive, it's because you've built her into not having an intimate drive. Girls get their intimate drive from how much they enjoy the act. If they're not enjoying the act and they're not enjoying being intimate with you, it's because you're no longer putting the effort in. If you're not doing any foreplay, you're not kissing her, you're not making her feel special or cared for or worshipped, she's not going to enjoy it. You're not kissing her neck or even kissing her, making out with her. You're not touching her the way you did when you first started being intimate together. She's not going to enjoy it and she's going to feel like it's pointless for her, especially if you're not doing the act to actually do it for her pleasure too. You're just doing it for you to get your goodies. If you're just doing it to find your happy time, then no, she's not going to enjoy it. And she's not going to want to do it again because she feels like she never gets anything out of it and she feels used. So if you want your girl to enjoy being intimate with you and to increase her intimate drive, start putting her first. Start actually trying during your intimate act, because I promise you, if you do and you actually make it worthwhile for her, she will enjoy doing the act. There's not one girl that doesn't enjoy doing the act. It's just the effort that's put in on the other side. She doesn't want to feel like she's used. She wants to feel worshipped. So try that and let me know how the act is afterwards.
Desire isn't a tap you can shut off during the argument years and expect to reopen on command once you're bored. A man who got ignored, criticized, and deprioritized for a decade doesn't magically become passionate again because she changed her tone this week. The body remembers the years it wasn't chosen, even after the mouth apologizes.
No one wants to fuck anymore. Seriously. No one wants to make out. No one wants to flirt. Everyone's tired, anxious, and touch-starved. So I wrote this Substack essay about how we're in a sexual recession and what's causing that. And see, women are some of the most educated, employed, and financially stable generation of women yet. So we don't need men for survival. If we're in partnership, it's because we want to be in partnership. And that is definitely impacting the way that dating, relationships, hookup culture, situationship culture is happening in Gen Z right now. Men have been told by their fathers, grandfather society that they are focused on providing for their women and their families. And I think now that Gen Z women can support themselves financially, we don't need men to provide for us. We definitely want them to, for sure, but we don't need them. We're focused more on equal partnerships and men that can show up emotionally available and be attuned to us. And unfortunately, I don't think the men are catching up, and this is causing a lot of strife. I think women collectively are realizing that there's not really a point to giving your body to someone that acts like they don't care if you live or die. And on top of that, they're not providing financially. And a part of that is not entirely their fault, because the economy that we're in is very difficult. And I think everyone is feeling the effects of that. But it's like, okay, the men are not planning dates. They're not paying for dates. They're not providing anything financially, and then on top of that, you're not emotionally available. Anytime I express myself, it's too much emotional labor, or I'm emotionally high maintenance, and it's like, what is the benefit of me giving myself to you if I get absolutely nothing in return? I think all of this is also contributing to the whole male loneliness epidemic, where men are starting to be decentered. I think women are focused a lot more on themselves, working on their relationships, building their careers, working on their finances, and because of that, men are not needed as much. Now I think women are focused on wanting men and being very intentional about choosing the men in our lives rather than being with men out of survival for financial needs. And on top of that, it's like, again, if you're not contributing to me financially and supporting me, making me the best version of myself. And also you're not contributing emotionally by being in tune with me and listening to me and actually caring about my feelings. It kind of feels like there's no point. It's not entirely the men's fault. It's also the patriarchy and capitalism and all of these systems that have been built to break us down and to divide us. And one of my mutuals, Justin, made a really good point where sex and intimacy is becoming a luxury. If you can't afford to date, if you can't afford to go to therapy, if you were not raised in an environment where you were taught to work on yourselves and to reflect and be empathetic, you are going to be at a disadvantage and you're not going to have the same access to relationships that maybe previous generations have. And I think another big thing as well with our generation is everybody is afraid of vulnerability. Everybody's afraid of intimacy, and that's also contributing to the divide as well. And I'm honestly seeing that in my personal life as well with my friends who are all educated, well-spoken, good head on their shoulders, good people that are beautiful and kind and giving, and even they are in a similar predicament where a lot of people are not in relationships because they don't want to acquiesce to their side, and a lot of people are horny and pent up and have no sort of release because, again, why give yourself to someone that can't contribute to you in some way? But also people don't want to do the work to be the type of person that can be in a relationship. So where do we go from here? There's a lot that we can't control in this world, but there are things that we can control, and that's how we treat each other. And I think one solution to this would be, I would love if the men would take a step forward and try to become more emotionally available, try to be vulnerable and be comfortable with intimacy. Even if it doesn't necessarily start with the women that you're pursuing, even if that's in your friendships, I think that is an amazing, great first step. Going to therapy, talking about your feelings, getting comfortable, being emotional, because if this continues, the problem is just going to grow more and more, because I don't think that a generation of people who are all pent up and repressed and horny is good for society. So all I want is for people to have great love stories, great relationships, and really great sex.
We erroneously believe that when a woman stops wanting sex within her relationship, that just means she doesn't want sex at all. That means her sex drive has diminished and there is something wrong with her libido. But usually when I speak to women that are in these very situations, their ability to be sexual is still alive and well. It is simply not switching on for their partner. And the reason that is happening is because they no longer feel seen and heard by them. This is because men tend to stop doing all of the things that create arousal in the beginning of a relationship as the relationship goes on, particularly as children and work stresses come into the picture. Women tend to take on the lion's share, and that creates resentment and ultimately a dynamic where they feel now more like they're their partner's parent or caretaker than they do feel like true partners. And because we don't educate men about how arousal works for women, they will try to get sex by initiating more sexual touch. What we need to do, and what might sound counterintuitive, is to move away from focusing on sex and go back to doing those things you were doing in the beginning of the relationship, those acts of non-sexual touch that were deeply intimacy building, and to actually step up and be a true partner. That is going to be the greatest chance that you're going to have of getting back that passion and that intimacy in your relationship.
He's not cold. He's just done auditing his own needs for someone else's convenience. College-educated men are actually reporting the lowest rates of this exact problem because the men who built real value stopped tolerating being an afterthought long before it became a crisis. Value walks when it's treated like clutter.
Women can't and shouldn't have casual sex. Here's why. Ladies, your body doesn't do casual. It doesn't do transactions. It does bonding biologically. Every single time you're physically intimate, your brain releases oxytocin, which is the same hormone that slams a mother into irreversible love the moment she holds her newborn. It's not a gentle suggestion. It is a chemical command. Attach. Your body doesn't check his intentions. It doesn't read the text messages that never come. It doesn't care if he's emotionally unavailable or if you swore this meant nothing. It just bonds hard, fast, and blindly. And here's the part that you really don't want to hear, probably. Every time you bond and then rip it apart, guess what? Your system takes a hit. Not metaphorically. The repeated cycle of surging oxytocin followed by abandonment, that is the mechanism designed to make you fall deeply in love and stay. You're not exploring your freedom, girlfriend. You're practicing detachment. You're training your nervous system to treat intimacy like background noise. The women who brag, oh, I don't catch feelings anymore. It's just casual. No, That is not leveling up. That is something broken inside and calling it evolution. Numbness is not power, it's scar tissue, and men feel this too. Different wiring, right? Different game. Their biology was built for variety and lower emotional stakes. Yours wasn't, honey. You were built for deep, protective bonding, for selecting one and guarding that attachment like your life depended on it, because for most of human history, it did. Casual sex isn't liberation. It's literally free training in disconnection. And the more that you practice, the more automatic it becomes, until the man worth keeping finally shows up and your body, once so eager to bind, now just shrugs. You feel nothing. Girlfriend, that's not empowerment. That is quiet and visible cost that they sold you as freedom. So just wake up and do a little bit better.
The math here isn't complicated. It just takes longer to land than most consequences do. You get years of quiet withdrawal, then one day a diagnosis, a therapist, a "we need to talk," and he's already been gone in every way that matters for longer than she noticed. Desperation dressed as concern always arrives after the invoice is already overdue.
To be very in love with the feeling of being wanted, particularly by men. And I also held a lot of shame around the fact that this was such a burning desire for me. I had to reconcile with the fact that as an emotionally neglected child, I learned that romantic love and the male gaze and male validation was a proxy for my mother's love, because I learned that she had so much wounding around male validation, and to be beautiful, to be chosen by men really fulfilled something in her. So it was a proxy for my mother's love, which I desperately wanted and needed. And then also I got trained into the same hypnotic days that a lot of us do in a patriarchal society, because the media messages and the cultural messages that I was inhaling were all telling me that this was the highest thing to aspire to be beautiful, to be desired by men. And I used to escape into fantasy worlds with music and the movies and shows and books and everything that I was consuming, magazines, where I would imagine myself being chosen. That's what emotionally neglected children will do. Whatever you have accessible to you, you work with those materials. For me, it was, okay, well, if I can sculpt myself and mold myself into someone who is desirable to men, if I can fit that, then all of this pain that I'm currently experiencing in my world, all of this rejection, all of this emotional neglect, all of my deep-seated feelings of shame and unworthiness will magically be solved. And that was what these romantic stories were always conveying in the music as well. It's like this high of being chosen by a man. My imagination was massive. I could really conjure these feelings. I got addicted to the feeling of being chosen by men and being considered attractive in my mind before any of it was actualized in my life. I was just a child at this point, using the materials that I had to construct a fantasy world where I wasn't in so much pain. And I became addicted to that. When I actually went through puberty, got older, and really was out there interacting with boys and men, I still was dissociating into my fantasy world, and I was still under this hypnotic state wherein getting those hits of male validation, it really felt like a high. It really felt like, okay, yes. But it was so temporary. It's like any other drug. So I needed more of it. And it ultimately would also just reinforce all of my rejection wounding because I wasn't actually trained in or even necessarily that interested in connecting to men. I was interested in them approving my worthiness through objectifying me, because that's exactly how I had been trained. I was already self-objectifying. I was completely dissociated from my bodily experience and seeing myself from this like third person point of view, That's how my mother treated me as well, constantly adjusting my appearance, constantly trying to optimize and make me, this beautiful Barbie doll. And then that's what society did to me as well. That's what society does to women. I ended up in so many harmful situations as a young woman because my main objective was to get male validation. And I also was completely okay with being totally objectified. And I had even been trained to feel sexual desire for when someone was objectifying me. Because again, this self-objectification, it's like you're seeing yourself from a third party view. You're not embodied. So if someone was really desiring me, if a man was really desiring me, that was lighting up all of these circuits in my brain. And I was like, yes, that's the thing. I had a lot of shame around this for a long time. The truth of the matter is I wasn't really that interested in a genuine relationship with these men. That hadn't been really trained into me as like what the point was. The point was to get their validation, and I got addicted to it, and it was a high. And then there was the, super dramatic low of when they ultimately rejected me, and I was catapulted back into all my original feelings of rejection. And that's the cycle I think we see so many women on when they are very male-centered. And I say all of this with love and compassion because, like I said, I had a lot of shame for this for a long time. It really was not until I truly faced my childhood pain and understood how this all developed in an effort to help me imagine a life beyond the pain that I was in. It all comes back to my original wounding. I've worked to really soothe and love my inner child and live from a genuine place as opposed to this place of constantly trying to escape my pain, which is what happens with our trauma. We build entire lives around trying to escape our pain in whatever way is accessible to you. This was just my conditioning. This was just what I could reach for. I think this is the same thing when people are addicted to success or, however they figured out what was a proxy for love, what was their hit of validation that they could get in lieu of feeling unconditionally worthy. This was just mine. But now that I understand that and it's embodied and I'm living life from a genuine place, it recalibrated my whole system, and I'm able to say, okay, what are my genuine desires when it comes to men, when it comes to romance, when it comes to all of these things? Which is not to say I have it figured out. It's just to say I know what I was doing for so long was coming from an emotionally wounded place. The place of a little girl who felt deeply unlovable.
Divorce risk in these situations runs 2.5 times higher, and yet only about 1 in 10 of these marriages actually end within 5 years. Most men just stay, go quiet, and build an entire second life inside their own head while sharing a mortgage. That's not commitment. That's a hostage situation with good manners.
That is because you have associated love with something you have to earn or prove, and you are attracted to unpredictability. Now, I know consciously you're probably like, no, I'm not. I hate unpredictability. I hate the hot and coldness. I just want a stable, secure person. Your nervous system hasn't caught up to what you actually want. Your nervous system chooses what's familiar. And so the unpredictable hot and cold person is exciting to you, and you're attracted to that person because your nervous system knows what to expect there. Your nervous system is attracted to that. So if you want to start to be attracted to those stable, healthy people, those secure, nice guys, then you need to change your nervous system. You have to do the work when you're single in order to attract.
Situationships, I've had confusion, mixed signals, ghosting, and men that acted like they liked me until it required effort. But an actual relationship? No, never. And I know for some people that sounds shocking or dramatic or like I sound desperate. It's even a little embarrassing to say it out loud. I didn't admit it for a really long time because I was embarrassed, never having had a boyfriend. But this is actually the reality of a lot of women. When people hear single, they assume that's recent. And it's like, no, babe, like historically. And for a long time, I let that make me feel like something was wrong with me. Like I missed a class that everyone else took on how to be lovable. I am done acting like my life hasn't started because I've never been picked. So if this sounds like you, or you just want to follow along on this journey of mine and learning to be happy with or without a relationship, welcome as always. Love you. Mean it.
Super annoyingly sentimental, but I'm so fucking tired of pretending like I don't want to be in like this crazy committed, yearning for each other, super fucking like up late texting every night, snuggling every night, being together as much as you possibly can, doing everything for each other and with each other. Like, I'm so tired of pretending like I don't want that. I'm so tired of pretending like I don't need someone. I don't need to be in a relationship, but I'm tired of pretending that I don't want to be. I'm tired of pretending that I don't want to need someone, I think is a better way to say that. I want to need someone. I want to need someone in my life. I want to need that person so bad. And I want them to need me so bad. I want them to talk about me like I'm everything to them. Like I'm literally the most amazing thing they've ever seen or been around or just, I want that so bad. And I'm so tired of pretending that I don't. I'm so tired of pretending that I'm just so independent and everything's fine because I'm independent and I have it all figured out by myself. I do have it all figured out by myself, but I want...
Attention isn't rationed by accident. It's rationed by pattern recognition, and men have finally caught up to the pattern. The desperation you're watching online isn't romance. It's a market correction happening in real time to women who assumed the supply of male patience was infinite. Subscribe to Alpha Reloaded. We say what the therapists won't. Drop your take below.